I woke up again. Cold air clung to my skin, and no sunlight filled the room. So the blinking red glare of the clock was the only light I saw. It said 4:27 a.m. The same time and the same dream appeared again and again for 7 nights straight. Honestly, I stopped pretending it didn't bother me, and I gave up on excuses after night 3. The dream never changes because it always begins in that suffocating little room. The walls are gray and too smooth to climb, so the air presses against my chest like wet cloth. There is only one window, which is small and square and placed too high, and there is one massive locked door right across from it. 7 others stand with me, and none of us speak, so silence becomes its own language. One boy keeps scratching at the wall, and a girl stares at nothing while her mouth hangs open, like she is trying to scream, but forgot how. And in my hands, I always find the bracelet that has green beads and crooked knots, so it matches the one I made with my mom when I was 5, and I haven't seen it in years. At some point, the others lift me up because they seem to know what to do, and they push me toward the window so I can escape. Just as I'm about to reach it, I hear something behind the door. Footsteps. They are heavy and deliberate and impossibly close, so each one lands with finality, like it has always been, walking toward me and waiting. The door groans open at the exact second the window lets go, and I squeeze through just in time. Then I wake up and I gasp for air every time. But this morning, I didn't stay in bed because something tugged at me, so I followed it down into the old research wing of the library. That place smells like forgotten years and moldy paper, so no one else was there except a tired-looking librarian who moved like dust. I found a pile of newspapers near a cracked radiator, and one was curled like it hadn't been touched in ages, so I unrolled it and something fell out. A bracelet. My bracelet. The real one had beads that were dulled, and the string that was frayed, so it looked just like something that had aged alongside me. The headline above it made my stomach twist, so I had to read it twice. April 27th, 8 disappear and 1 never recovered. I scanned the photo beneath it, and my heart did something awful, because the ones in the article were the ones from my dream, and I recognized their faces and their blank expression. I backed away too fast, so I nearly knocked over a chair. And I whispered to myself, because that is what people do when they are scared, and trying not to believe their own thoughts. It is just a dream. Then I heard someone else say the same words with the same voice and the same rhythm. The librarian had moved closer, because he was in the shadows before, but now he wasn't. His mouth was smiling, but it looked wrong, so it stretched too wide and too careful. His voice cracked in places human voices shouldn't, and his eyes didn't blink, so everything felt cold. I turned to run, but everything blurred, so the walls and the books and even the air lost shape. Now I am in my bed again, and the room looks the same, but something feels thinner, like a layer has peeled away. The clock flashes again, 4:27 a.m. The bracelet is right beside me, and outside my door I hear footsteps again. It began with a message. There was no number and there was no contact name, so the screen only showed 2 words, hide now. I thought it was a joke because someone was probably bored and trying to mess with strangers, so I ignored it and went back to my sketch pad since it was late and I had a project due. Then my phone lit up again and the message said, they are coming. I froze because there was still no number and still no sender and just that single line. I locked the doors, then I closed the windows, and I told myself it had to be spam or some tech glitch. So I tried to shake it off. After an hour, another message appeared and it said, you should have hidden. That was when the power went out and everything turned dark, so my phone started glitching, then froze with that message still on the screen. I called Leo, who is my best friend, because I needed to tell someone. And when I explained, he laughed and said I was paranoid, so he told me he would come over. 15 minutes passed, but there was still no sign of him. Then I received another message. Leo is hiding. Will you seek it? My chest tightened because no one else knew I had called him. and no one else should know. Then I heard footsteps because they were slow and heavy and getting closer every second. I crawled into my closet and held my phone tight while I tried to text Leo, but the message would not send. Another buzz came through, and it was a photo. Leo stood right outside my door, and his eyes were wide while his mouth was open, like he had just seen something unspeakable. Then everything fell silent, until one final message appeared on my screen. You chose to hide. Now I am here waiting because I am alone, and I am too afraid to move. I think it found him, and I think now it is mine. I go to a boarding academy that stretches across a massive and aging campus. They say parts of it were shut down years ago because they were too damaged and too unsafe, but no one really explains why. There are 4 wings, and 2 are used by students, while the other 2 are sealed off. I have always been drawn to places that should not be entered. My friend Jay runs a small horror channel, and I film most of it. One night, we decided to explore one of the locked wings with just us and our camera. At first, it was nothing because there was dust and rusted doors and faded paint. But then we ran into another group, which was older students who were already inside. They had a way of opening doors using a hidden latch and a rusted key. Behind it was something massive and endless, which was a whole level we had never even heard of. We went back to our rooms that night, but we could not stop thinking about what we saw. The next night, we went again. Jay found a side room that was almost collapsed and pitch black inside. I stepped in first with a flashlight in hand. The walls were cracked open, and the air felt wrong because it was stale and bitter. There was graffiti everywhere and something ancient. Then I saw a corridor through the wall which stretched far beyond the building's edge. I pointed my light toward it, and that is when we heard it. There was a roar that was deep and wet and wrong. Then came the sound of something sprinting toward us, which was too fast and too heavy. We ran down the stairs and through the hall. And then there was laughing. Not one voice but dozens, which were screaming and echoing. 5 minutes later, the fire alarm started blaring from the sealed wing again and again, which happened 10 times. There was no one else there because there was no wind and no students, and just Jay and me. Later, the night guard reported seeing black smoke in the dark. But here is the thing, because there was no fire and no damage, in nothing found. We are not going back, but I cannot stop wondering. If that wing holds something like that, then what is behind the one nobody even talks about?